Welcome to the March 23rd Diversion Authority Finance Committee meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First order of business is a roll call vote of the members.
Mayor Dardis.
Here.
Dr. Mahoney.
Here.
Mr. Peterson.
I'm here.
Mr. Jacobson.
Here.
Mr. Costin.
Here.
Ms. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Redlinger.
Here.
Mr. Steen.
Here.
Mr. Pepcorn. Mayor Carlson. Mr. Reitz. Ms. Madriga.
Here.
Quorum is present.
Thank you, Don. Item 2 on our agenda is to approve the minutes of February 23rd, 2022. They have been in the packet. They are on page 3 of your attachments.
So moved.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there a second, please?
Second.
And moved and seconded to approve the minutes of February 23rd as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye, please. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 3 is the approval of the agenda.
Hey, excuse me. Could whoever doesn't have has their mic on, turn it off if you're not involved in the conversation, please. So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Steen. Approval of the agenda. I have a motion from Mayor Mahoney. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Peterson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the order of the agenda as distributed. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 4 is the approval of the bills. We'll call on Mr. Kent Costin, City of Fargo. It is in your attachments. It is on page 5. Mr. Costin.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. There's 3 vendors on the list today for a total of $254,903.55. No new vendors listed on the list are Clay County, Onset, Twitchell, and Cass County. So I would recommend approval of those bills.
Thank you, Mr. Costin. Are there any questions of Mr. Costin? Mayor Mahoney.
Mayor Dardis, just would like to remind you that Ken Costin has worked on the diversion for 10 to 12 years now, and he is going to retire April 1st. So this will be his last finance meeting for us. So I just entertain the committee do a round of applause for all his hard work. And would move to approve.
All right.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the bills as presented by Mr. Costin, who's soon to retire on April 1st. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Don, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Dardis.
Yes?
Dr. Mahoney.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson.
Yes.
Mr. Costin.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Redlinger.
Yes.
Mr. Steen.
Yes.
Ms. Madriga.
Yes.
That is everyone.
Very good. Thank you, Don. Item number 5 is the finance report. Again, we call on Mr. Kent Costin, the City of Fargo.
Yes, on page 11 of the report, the cumulative spend on the project to date is $788,140,988. If you go to page 12, the statement of position assets, net position, $102,869,898. And I did want to add that I've had some discussion with John Shockley and the management group this month. So I wanted to report in that the Bank of North Dakota obligation is ready to be drawn upon. John so craftily worked out a procedure that was was a very good streamlined procedure with the Bank of North Dakota. So we're able to submit just a summary financial report directly to the Bank of North Dakota, and they'll turn that money quite quickly. But just for a protocol of understanding, we have an open commitment from the State Water Commission of funds from previous legislative action. I think it's about $18 million. And so then there gets to be the accounting issue of which set of funds do we draw first? Do we draw out the old money, the State Water Commission money, and then dive into the Bank of North Dakota money? The nuance there is the State Water Commission funds is 50% cost share, so we only get half of it. And the Bank of North Dakota is all in at 100%. So John, shake your head if I'm saying this right, but I believe what we decided was we would draw half the money out of one bucket and half out of the other, so that we're showing good stewardship and we're not just leaving legislative appropriations laying for long periods of time. So we're going to draw these down sequentially, and I almost want to get an action approved by this committee just to make sure that somebody doesn't, think that we should be doing it a different way. And that's why I wanted to report that out to the committee, that this is what we intend to do. John and the group is good with that. And I think the Bank of North Dakota people are also good with that. So that's what I would recommend. When we draw for those reimbursements, we'll draw out of both buckets. And my accounting team will keep track of that.
Thank you, Mr. Costin. Questions?
So are you trying to recommend policy?
Well, I think it's more of accounting protocol, and I just wanted to report it to you so that it doesn't become an issue in the future. And I would just like this group to pass a motion to draw sequentially out of both buckets of money. Because I can see us being criticized in the future if we have funds that a legislative body perceives as not being utilized. So if we can show constant draw against those pools of money, then I think that should help with any.
Would move to approve that new policy.
With the recommendations of Mr. Costin. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Steen seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the financial report with the suggestions presented by Mr. Costin this afternoon. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a roll call vote, being we're having a policy thing change here. Don, would you please?
Mayor Dardis.
Yes?
Dr. Mahoney.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson.
Yes.
Mr. Costin.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Redlinger.
Yes.
Mr. Steen.
Yes.
Ms. Madriga.
Yes.
That is everyone.
Thank you, Don. Item number 6 is an executive director's financial report. Mr. Paulson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'll start out first with the annual revenue report, and this is, if you read on the bottom here, revenues were reversed out of 2022 and moved back to 2021. This is really just a function of when the sales tax revenues come in and how we're tracking it. So nothing really to report here as far as forecast year 2022 is concerned. And I believe, Kent, those sales tax will start kicking in next month as far as 22. So there is a lag between when those dollars come in and how we track it. So that's it, in case you're wondering why there's a negative revenue. That's it's just an accounting practice there. So I'll move on to the overall status, and I don't think I'll dig into the level 2 because as we sit here at the end of February. We've really only accounted for $14 million of our overall $194 million cash budget. And as you can see here, a majority of those costs have been in City of Fargo projects and reimbursement for those, and then the lands and impacted property mitigation. So everything in budget, obviously, at this point in the year. Majority of our expenditures in the last 2 months have been related to reimbursement for in-town levies and storm sewer stations, and then lands and impacted property mitigation. So just reiterating what Kent had mentioned, total expenditures for the project to date is at $788. So that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Paulson. Questions for the gentleman? This is only an informational item. We'll move on to item number 7, which is the contracting actions. Again, Mr. Paulson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have 3 contracting actions for the committee to consider. I'll go through these one at a time. The first one is managed IT services for the MFDA. We are in the process of moving into a building and co-locating with Jacobs and the Red River Valley Alliance and ASN. And so this service agreement will be for Marco to provide IT services as well as help us get set up in the new office. And those services will be ongoing. We were receiving those services from Cass County, but in talking with the county's IT department, they felt as we moved over to this new location and co-located, it would be better off for us to use a vendor that the other folks are also using, and it would be more efficient, they'd be more attentive. So task order 2, amendment 0 is for Cass County Electric Co-op. This is related to their utility MOU and utility relocates. And item number 3 is a service agreement for Flint Group. And this is, as this committee is aware, you know, we've been toying around with redoing our website. This would be a contract to update our website, make it more user-friendly, provide better content, and be more readily available for interaction with the public. And so we did do an RFP for that. Flint Group was the lowest cost provider and what we felt the most qualified to do the work.
Thank you, Mr. Paulson. Any questions for any of these items, these contracting items? Hearing none. This is an actionable item, so I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mayor Mahoney. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Steen, second's been moved and seconded to approve the contracting actions, the 3 items as presented by Mr. Paulson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please, Don.
Mayor Dardis,
Yes?
Dr. Mahoney,
Aye.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Costin,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Redlinger,
Yes.
Mr. Steen,
Yes.
Ms. Madriga.
Yes.
That is everyone.
I would note to the committee that the Diversion Authority Board approvals of the 2022 cash budget changes. We sometimes have those on a monthly basis. There's nothing for approval this month, so we'll be moving on to item number 8, other business. First one is the DA Board approved MOU and agreement actions. There's numerous MOUs. Mr. Shockley will be presenting.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We have a number of MOUs for the Finance Committee to recommend for approval. The first MOU is with Moorhead Public Service and the Diversion Authority, and that is for utility relocations occurring across the diversion channel. Specifically, for anybody who's interested, Moorhead Public Service has a transmission line that crosses the diversion channel just to the west of West Fargo, kind of along the 32nd Avenue corridor, and it just currently crosses over the Cheyenne, and it'll eventually cross over the diversion channel, and that just needs to be relocated and realigned for the new construction. The second MOU is with Dickey Rural Networks. This is actually a new utility provider, and so it outlines their responsibility for installation of network fiber crossing the areas within this diversion channel. The next one is another township MOU for the diversion channel. That is with Berlin Township. That addresses the design, construction, operations, and maintenance of the diversion channel project. It allocates the responsibilities between the diversion and the township. It essentially follows the same form as the other township MOUs. It does allow for the reimbursement of expenses up to $3,000 annually for the diversion project until substantial completion. Post-construction is $1,500 annually. That is consistent with our other MOUs. And then a one-time lost tax revenue payment of $9,000 and $15,000 reimbursement for attorney's fees. So very consistent with our other MOUs for townships. Nothing unusual there. Also very happy to let the Finance Committee know that we reached a final agreement with the City of Christine for the construction of their flood control elements. As part of the settlement agreement, we needed to construct, the Diversion Authority needs to construct flood control around the City of Christine. The alternative was to buy flowage easements within the City of Christine. As part of the settlement agreement, we agreed to the construction of the project, but we shifted the responsibility for bidding it, constructing it, overseeing it to the City of Christine, and essentially we're just providing funding for it and oversight. And really the idea there is that the local authorities with our oversight will do a better job of managing the project and having to acquire land and work with the local residents rather than having the Diversion Authority come in and do those sorts of issues. And then the final item is an update to the MOU with the Cass County regarding the provisions of HR services. And as the Diversion Authority has brought on an HR consultant, we changed some of the provisions of the MOU, and we did extend the period of performance from January 1st, 2022 through December 31st of 2026. Happy to answer any questions, but pretty run-of-the-mill business for the authority, and we're getting close to the end on the third-party MOUs, which is nice.
Thank you, Mr. Shockley. Are there any questions? This is an actionable item. We can take
Move to
all
approve.
5 of them at once. Thank you. Mayor Mahoney moves. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Steen seconds. Been moved and second to approve the MOU and agreement actions as presented by Mr. Shockley, items 1 through 5. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Don, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Dardis.
Yes.
Dr. Mahoney.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson.
Yes.
Mr. Costin.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Redlinger.
Yes.
Mr. Steen.
Yes.
Ms. Madriga.
Yes.
That is everyone.
Thank you, Don. Next order of business is a program information points. Mr. Paulson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item is just for your information, but we did include updated talking points in the finance packet as well, as the board members will see that in the board packet. So just to take a look at those. We wanted to make those available just to kind of update board members and finance committee members of some of the recent activities over the last few months, and give you that information if you receive any questions from the general public about specific items related to the authority. So.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Could you tell us about the email we got recently about the 3 awards, please?
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. So we have now acquired our 3rd award for the project. All 3 awards recognize the project as a world-class P3 deal, and I think the marketplace has certainly reiterated that. Mr. Shockley and I have been in contact with a number of folks that are just amazed at how quickly the commercial and financial close occurred after the award of the bid. That is not typical in P3 projects, and I think it's indicative of how well we put together the contracting package and how well we work to secure all of the different financing mechanisms that we had in place. So we are also expecting, there's another award ceremony this week. We are expecting to acquire a 4th award. So they keep coming in, and we didn't do this to win awards, but I think those awards certainly indicate the hard work that everyone's put into this project, and is certainly being recognized by national and international organizations.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Please, Mayor Mahoney.
City of Fargo would be happy to display those awards in our commission chambers for a couple of weeks if you'd like, Joel. We're happy to do that. And Bernie, when he gets his new fire station, he'll probably have it out there.
You can pick them up after we're done with them.
Mr. Chairman, I'll let the board chair decide where the
County, probably. I think they just ended up in Cass County.
What mayor? Come on. I'd put it to a vote of myself, and I'll determine where they will.
Put them in your cave.
Thank you, thank you for that update, Mr. Paulson. I think it's pertinent to note at this time of, all of the wonderful work that all of the staff has done, consultants have done, the diversion board has done, both past and present. We wouldn't be here today without some extremely strong leadership from within our communities and our states over the years. So as all of these accolades are starting to come to fruition, we have a lot of people to be thankful for, and this was certainly a team effort, and it's went on for 10 or 15 years. So it's nice to finally be in this position, and congratulations to everybody engaged, everybody involved. With that, our next meeting is going to be April 27th. Before we leave, again, I was going to make a couple of comments also about Mr. Costin. In my short time that I've been on the Diversion Authority, working with him and the work that he does with regard to finances and paying the bills and all of those types of things, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's always a pleasure to work with a true professional. And so you're going to be missed, and you probably know that already, but on behalf of a very grateful Diversion Authority, past and present, thank you very much for all of your efforts. Mr. Costin.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And again, this isn't all about me. There's an incredibly talented group of finance specialists in our office that are serving as fiscal agents for the Diversion Authority, and they've enjoyed that challenge. And I'll never forget the day I walked into our senior person and I said, hey, guess what? You're going to get to be the opportunity to participate in a $2.8 billion project. And she was like, just kind of blown askew. I said, no, this is a good thing. This is a really good thing, because it'll be on your resume. It'll be a story that you'll tell that nobody else in this whole world has experienced, because this is brand new territory. It's awesome to be involved, and I've really appreciated the ride along for many years too. So thank you very much.
Again, we're very grateful. Our next finance meeting is April 27th, as I said. With that, we stand adjourned. Thank you.